like geddytrey on stuff. Whooshy gives a proper reaction.
And now for something completely different.
Okay, family, welcome back. Teddy Gray, back on stuff today. Macklemore, HIND'S. Let's get into it. I'm not really going to say too much about it. I feel like with what I've heard about this track may speak for itself. I don't really need to say anything. A lot of you know my position on this. And of course, you know, we may speak on it further. If anybody wants to debate, if anybody wants to talk, if anybody wants to display their ideas, their concerns, anything, please make sure you hit the comment section up. I'm sure a lot of people would like to discuss this also. So, you know, it'll be a good place for safe commenting, you know. Have a good time. Let's go.
Yeah, the people they won't leave. What is threatening about divesting and want a piece? The problem isn't the protests, it's what they're protesting. It goes against what our country is funding. Block the barricade until Palestine is free. Block the barricade until Palestine is free. When I was 7, I learned a lesson from Cuban Eazy-E. What was it again? Oh yeah, fuck the police. Actors and badges protecting property in a system that was designed by white supremacy. But the people are in the streets. You could pay off Meta, you can't pay off me. Politicians who serve by any means, APAC, Kofi, and all the companies. You see, we sow fear around the land of the free, but this generation here is about to cut the strings. You could ban TikTok, take us out the algorithm, but it's too late. We've seen the truth, we bear witness. Seen the rubble, the buildings, the mothers, and the children, and all them.
Oh my lord, this whole TikTok ban. I'm very well versed on, you know, why this is happening. Or at least, you know, the assumption as to why this is happening. And it's because of free media, free press. You know, they're like America for the longest time have had such a go at Russia and North Korea and China for how they militarize their media. And they only allow, like China doesn't even allow Google, for instance. They monopolize and they control to such a degree. And America was always like, oh, it could never be us. Land of the free, home of the brave could never be us. And then all of a sudden they want more control. They want more power. They want less opportunity, more division. That does not seem democratic. That does not seem liberal. You know, that doesn't seem like a liberal idea to ban TikTok. And yet that's your guy. That's Bo Jiden that wants to do that for you. You know? I don't get it personally. Doesn't make much sense, you know? Especially when they use TikTok so heavily in 2016 and 2020 to try and forward the idea that Trump was a super villain / Hitler type. They try and forward that idea in TikTok. TikTok's all fine then, but then when it's talking about, like, the people of Palestine, were taking videos, putting those on TikTok or sending them to people who could put them on TikTok. And that was how people were gathering actual facts, you know, and that was how people were able to dispute the shit that was coming out of the mouths of BBC, of CNN, of Fox, everywhere. Everywhere. And I was, before, I might have to wait a bit to speak on that. I might have to wait a bit.
Men that you murdered, and then we see how you spin it. Who gets the right to defend and who gets the right of resistance is always.
Oh no! Nah, because I was literally just about to go into that. Like, why is it okay for the Ukraine to do that? Oh my God! I was listening to the War Mode podcast. Shouts out Billy and Spud. Those two were saying that Ukraine is going to be the next Palestine. It's going to be the next territory that's sort of divided and blown apart frequently, and it's torn between two nations as to who gets control over it. Oh my God. The fact that so much aid was given to Ukraine because there was a force, which was Russia, who was entering without seemingly without provocation. And then Israel, with all their defenses, the Iron Dome, the Mossad, you know, they have the one of the largest intelligence agencies in the world, and they didn't see Palestine coming on October the 7th. I find that very difficult to believe. I find that very difficult to believe with all of the information that they have, with the fact that they buried Epstein. I don't mean his body, you know, because allegedly it was just a cadaver, not the real thing. But I mean, they buried the story. It can't possibly be anti-Semitic to say that they control the media if they control the media. It can't possibly be anti-Semitic if it's a fact. But that's what they're trying to do. In America, that TikTok law literally says you cannot say things that it says in the Bible. The fuck? It's a troubling time that we live in. A troubling time. It's fine for us to send all this aid and money to Ukraine, but we can't do the same for Palestine, even though they're in the same situation. Because the US won't acknowledge that they are Russia in this instance, you know? Or they're rather China in this instance. Israel would be Russia. The US are acting like China. Like, we'll give you the tools that you need to inflict chaos, destruction. Generations of hatred for Israel is being created as we speak.
Seeing the truth, we bear witness. Seen the rubble, the buildings, the mothers and the children, and all the men that you murdered, and then we see how you spin it. Who gets the right to defend and who gets the right of resistance? Has always been about dollars and the color of your pigment. But white supremacy is finally on blast, screaming free Palestine to their home at last. We see the lies and claiming it's anti-Semitic to be anti-Zionist. I seen Jewish brothers and sisters out there and riding in solidarity and screaming free Palestine, with them organizing and learning and finally cutting ties with the state that's gotta rely on apartheid system to uphold and occupying violent history. Been repeating for the last 75. The Nakba never ended, the colonizer lied. If students in
the Nakba never ended. Let's go. Nakba, the disaster, the devastation of it. The devastation of millions of Palestinians being misplaced, being moved on from their homes, from their towns, from their cities, being forcibly moved. If they refuse, the firing squad comes, mows them down. This is historically documented. So anybody listening to this like, that never happened, shut up and read more. Shut up and read more. There's my advice for you. The Nakba never ended. They've been displacing Palestinians. They've been displacing, let's not call them Palestinians, let's say Muslims, because it doesn't matter if they're from Egypt, Jordan, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Sudan, they're Muslim, okay? That's who they don't like, all right? Oh, God. I could go on about this for ages. Unbelievable. And it's weird how it's okay for one but not the other. Genuinely pisses me off.
posted on the lawn, solidarity and screaming free Palestine, with them organizing and learning and finally cutting ties with the state that's gotta rely.
That was the thing I was going to say. It's not anti-Semitic, and this is kind of what I was touching on. It's not anti-Semitic to be anti-Zionist. Zionists were... I mean, the guy who created the idea of Zionism got it from Britain, who were world colonizers. We were masters at this, and we basically gave this one Jewish guy all of the ingredients, all of the tools that he needed, all of the mental weaponry that he would have needed in order to pull similar things off. And that is exactly what they did. Look at a map of Israel in the 1920s, 30s, and look at one now. Far bigger. Look at Palestine, far smaller. How does that happen? How does that happen? Because nobody sat down and said, oh yeah, you can take this, you can take this. That never happened. So how does that happen unless it's by force? Unless you're going to tell me that the Palestinian people willfully gave away their towns and their homes. Because if not, then you're on the right side. Or at least you're on the right track to being on the right side, you know? Unbelievable. I have literally heard and seen Jewish people with my own eyes and ears who are anti-Zionist. There are a lot of Jews who are anti-Zionist because they don't want to be associated with Zionism. They don't want anything to do with it. That's not what they're in it for. It's the same way as jihadis. And, you know, a lot of the suicide bombers, especially the infamous ones that we know about, they believed in a different type of the Quran. They believed in a different message. They saw it completely differently. The majority of Muslims do not agree with what they think. So, and yet, it was all Muslims that were tarred with the same brush after 9/11. All of them. Even though the majority of Muslims don't think like they do. That's the most simplest way that I can explain it to anybody, because that's the simple way that it was explained to me. And then when I was like, oh, so they're not all the same. They don't all have to think that. It's just some of them got like a different message from that one book. And it's like, yeah, that's all it is. They just interpreted it differently, came up with something else, had like a fringe group, and other, you know, disenfranchised people joined that group, and then they created like a little terrorist organization. It can happen, you know. EDL, what's it called? KKK. There's been a lot of times where this has happened, and it's not as if all the people, like, it's not as if all white people think the same as the KKK. It would be the same thing though. And that is what's happening now, and I don't like it, because it's almost as if people have gone backwards in the evolution of thinking, and thinking that you can tar everybody with the same brush. If you can pigeonhole enough people, it's wrong, man.
Solidarity and screaming free Palestine, with them organizing and learning and finally cutting ties with the state that's gotta rely on apartheid system to uphold and occupying violent history. Been repeating for the last 75. The Nakba never ended, the colonizer lied. If students' intents posted on the lawn, occupying the quad is really against the law, and a reason to call in the police and their squad. Where does genocide land in your definition, huh? Destroying every college in Gaza and every mosque, pushing everyone into Rafah and dropping bombs. The blood is on your hands, Biden, we can see it all. And fuck no, I'm not voting for you in the fall. Undecided, you can't twist the truth. The people out here united, never be defeated when freedom's on the horizon. Yet the music industry's quiet, complicit in their platform of silence. What happened to the artist? What you gotta say? If I was on a label, you could drop me today. I'll be fine with it, cause the heart fed my page. I want a ceasefire, fuck a response from Drake. What you willing to risk? What you willing to...
Oi, that's fire, because obviously this whole Kendrick Lamar Drake beef's going on at the minute, and most people in the industry are talking about that, whereas nobody's really using their platform to speak about this. That's fire. I mean, me personally, I don't need a lecture on it. I already made a song about it about 6 months ago. So if anything, Macklemore's late, all right? And I spoke about the Nakba in mine as well. The same things he's speaking about, I spoke about in even more detail. Even more graphic in the video. So I don't need a lecture. However, I'm glad that he's giving everybody one, all right? And when I say I don't need a lecture, like, I've had this thing on here for time, like, you can even see where it's frayed. It's not like I just put this on for this video, like.
What if you were in Gaza? What if those were your kids? If the West was pretending that you didn't exist, you want the world to stand up, and the students finally did. Let's get it.
Let's go, man. Okay. Well, I like it. The beat for me seemed a little bit too uplifting for what he was talking about. I get that he was trying to be like prophetic with it, but I don't know. The beat kind of came across as more of a celebration rather than like a warning, which is kind of what this was. It was more of a warning, you know. Like, we need to start having a conversation about this. We need to bring this into the social zeitgeist. It can't just be something that just withers away and we don't talk about, you know? It can't be one of those ones. We need actual decisions, actual change. I personally don't believe that whether you vote red or blue in the fall, I don't believe that it will matter in terms of this. I believe that it's going to go ahead either way, you know? Because there's a military industrial complex that benefits financially in the billions and trillions from war continuing. So the only way that this is going to stop is if we sever the tie between private and government. That's the only way that we do that. you know. Any private contracts cannot be given to anybody who has anything to do with the government, because that's really all it is, you know. That's what lobbying is. These military companies, Boeing, you know, Lockheed and Martin, whatever it is, they will give the money to the politicians, who will then enact the change that they want to see, because they want to prop up war. More division, more conquering. It's the same thing that's been happening for a millennia. It's just happening on more of a you know, in back rooms now. Whereas before, when the Vikings would come, you know, rape and pillage, they would just take over a nation, and they were very obvious about it. This is us, this is what we're doing, this is what we're about. Whereas now you have companies like Boeing who are like, oh no, we're just commercial flights, that's all we do. And then it's not all they do. They're a proponent of war, you know, and we're all implicit. It's something that you have to live with and try and affect change where you can. I believe, like, you know, songs like this can do it, but also conversations, hopefully like the ones that will be had underneath this video, can solve a lot too. It's been your boy Teddy Grey on Stuff. Deuces.
This goes hard.